3373 2268 Northwest 2nd Ave.
Good evening again, Council. Can you make your
Third
appearance?
time's the charm.
Yep.
Leslie Sharp, 318 Northwest 23rd Street.
All right, Council. The property has been cited with 2 open violations: the erection, construction, posting of a sign without a finalized permit, and the failure to obtain a temporary use permit. How do you plead for the property, Council?
This property is also in compliance.
Okay. Do you have the paperwork, Council?
There is no paperwork because the issue with this property is that there was a business operating on the property that wasn't, that the city and code enforcement has said was not allowed to be there.
Mr. Chair, I will ask for a plea on the property, and then we can obviously put the case on if necessary.
Okay. All right. So at the time the property was cited, Council, was the property in violation of these 2 when it was cited?
So, as I said, the property's in compliance.
Yes, the property is in compliance.
There has not been an affidavit of compliance issued, so.
There's no affidavit of compliance.
Okay, so since there's no affidavit of compliance, we have to have a pleading, and then once we speak with the inspector and find out what's actually happening, then we can go forward to resolve it. So again, when they cited your client's property, was the property in violation with the sign and with the not having the use permit when the inspector cited the property?
The property does not have a temporary use permit.
No. Council, what I'm saying is when the property was cited, I know it's good now.
Yes.
Allegedly it's good now. But at the time that the inspector cited it, was the property in violation?
Of not having a temporary use permit.
Right, of not
Yes.
having that and not having
Yes.
and doing the sign.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So at the time,
Yes.
now we're compliant, so that's
Yes.
great. But I need a plea for the violation. So now that we have the plea, it was guilty at the time the inspector cited it, right?
It was guilty at the time, but we don't.
Perfect.
But I want to be clear for the record that we don't agree with the violation as the violation is written.
I'll defer to council because I don't know
You can
where to
disagree
go.
with how it's cited, but obviously she just said that it was in violation.
There was no TUP on the property.
Okay. All right. So we have a finding of guilt. Inspector, tell me.
I'm sorry. There's not been a finding of guilt because I haven't put a case on. So I need a plea. Like, are you accepting that as a plea of guilty?
I'm accepting her plea. She said at the time, she said that it had a sign and there was no TU. She doesn't agree with the way the code was written. But she said at the time that the inspector cited it, he said that there was a sign and there was no TU. So I'm accepting that as a plea.
So the violations did exist at the time the property was cited, and you're accepting her statement as a plea of guilty for the violation.
Council says she just doesn't agree with the code, but she got.
I don't agree with the citation that was given, but at the time there was no temporary use permit on the property. I don't think there's any.
And there's 2 violations on the property. I mean, usually we have a plea, so I'm just.
I'm asking for a plea. Council gave me her plea. She said that she doesn't agree with. So if we're not accepting this as a plea, the city will have to put on their case. Now we can resolve it because if you're coming into compliance, we can resolve it. I mean,
the property's in compliance.
What I'm saying is that if you don't plead, the city's going to have to do their thing.
We don't argue that there was not a TUP.
Right, I know, but again.
I said.
Okay, so.
There's no argument that there was a TUP on the property. We have said was not a TUP on the property.
Okay. Are you disagreeing about the sign? Are you disagreeing about the sign not being permitted?
No.
Okay, she's not.
There's no disagreement about that.
So I'll accept the plea on recommendation of my counsel, our board counsel.
Well, it sounds like she's agreeing that there was a violation
at the time.
So
yeah, she said
that's the equivalent of guilt by default.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll accept it, Inspector. Where are we now? I'm just I'm still trying to get over the plea, but where are we now, Inspector? Is there a sign, and where are we now?
Good evening, Inspector Ramirez, Co-Compliance Central Office.
Good evening, Inspector.
I went by the property today. It's a food truck.
Okay.
Was not there.
Okay.
At the time, yes, there was a food truck operating.
Okay.
A portable sign as well, not allowed in the city of Miami. It's a vacant lot without a certificate of use. Food trucks can operate two ways.
Right.
When they're stationed, vacant lot requires a temporary use permit. If the lot has a certificate of use, then they have to meet certain criteria. One is, A, the lot has to have a certificate of use active. B, they cannot be within 500 feet of another food establishment.
Okay.
They do not meet those requirements.
Okay, so Inspector, would you say that this is an issue with a lot that wants to have a food truck, but they can't because it's too close to another food vendor, and that's the issue in that they're not there now. You said that they're not there now, right?
As of today, when I went by the property, it was not there now.
Okay, are you having an issue where the truck is coming and going?
The truck, up until last Friday, has been on
Operating.
that lot all the time.
Okay, so your assumption and what you've actually seen is that the truck will leave, but then the truck comes back.
Correct.
So it's not in violation if it's not there now today selling food, but it is in violation if it comes back to this particular location on a later date, like maybe Friday or Saturday, and then they're there. They would be in violation.
Correct.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. And I would like to add that obviously we have a plea of guilty on the record. In your order for this property, I would ask that if this food truck returns to the property, that the city has the ability to remove it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I
From
may.
council. Go ahead.
If I may, the food truck that they're talking about is actually an ice cream truck that was operating on the property.
Yes.
And the ice cream truck that was operating on the property, on and off intermittently, so to speak, was operating on the advice of separate counsel, that they were operating under the Mana SAP as an open air retail unit. And the reason why they have now ceased operations is because they have been definitively told, or they have been told by zoning and planning, that this doesn't fall within the definition of an open air retail unit.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been working with zoning and planning to develop some processes by which we can obtain permits, or individual food truck carts, or whatever the case may be, can obtain permits as open air retail units, because there is currently no process for that. So this kind of business and other businesses in the Mana SAP, the Design District SAP,
Mr. Chair,
and the
if I
Magic
may.
City SAP.
Yes.
I would
City
object
Attorney.
to some of the statements being made. I think the violations before us today are for the TUP and the sign being there. There is a SAP for the property. I've had several discussions with the attorney, and they cannot be there as a food truck. They have been there as a food truck operating in violation of the city code, and that's what's before us today.
And as I've told Ms. Gibbs, and I will tell you also, we've committed and we've agreed that the ice cream truck operator will not be operating there until we can establish with zoning and code some process by which they can obtain a permit for an
Sure.
open air retail unit, or whatever the case may be. We've agreed to that, we've committed to that.
Okay,
And the
council.
reason why they were there intermittently between the time, whatever the case may be, is because they were operating under the advice of separate private counsel, that they could operate as an open air retail unit under the Mana SAP.
And
So I
they were
just wanted-
told several times by many representatives of the city that they could not be there and could not operate as a food truck, and they continue to return.
Okay, so council, it seems like the city and you disagree about, what has been asked of your client and what can be permissible under the code. I know you're trying to work with a process to get permits, but as of right now, there cannot be a food truck or any
And we
service
understand
there.
that there seems to be
So-
some serious lack of clarity as to what the definitions are for this open air retail unit. We totally understand that, and we've
Sure.
agreed with Ms. Gibbs and with code and with zoning and planning that until there is more clarity around it, we will not have the ice cream truck
Sure.
operating there.
Well,
I have a motion.
go ahead.
Speak this up. Move for immediate compliance and a per diem of $500 a day thereafter. And if the food truck or any food truck is operating on that property, the city should have the right to go in and remove it by whatever means it deems.
There's a motion. Is there a second? All right. There's a motion for immediate compliance.
Excuse me, can I request that if the ice cream truck has prior approval from the city, or if the ice cream truck has a special event permit or whatever the case may be, that they have permission to operate there, that
Well-
it
Yeah,
would
but then I
involve-
don't think it'd be a violation.
If a special event permit would not allow them to operate in violation of any other section of the code, so that would be inapplicable.
I mean, if they're operating there lawfully in the city, you get approval from the city, I don't think it'd be a violation, so there would be no cause to take any
Well,
action.
right, they would be, if they're operating lawfully,
Yeah.
then it wouldn't be an issue, but
I
it
don't
seems
want to.
like it seems like what you're suggesting is that if they return to the property, that we could immediately be cited for this.
I could-
And what I'm suggesting is,
What they can is
they can immediately be towed. And what I'm
Sure.
suggesting is that if they have a special event permit, or the property has a special event permit, and they're on the property under a special event permit or with some other city permission,
Okay.
then
I'll
A
amend my-
special event permit, again, for the record, does not eliminate any other section of the city code. It allows a special event to happen.
All right,
So the food truck still would not be able to be there visa a
I'll-
special event
I'll
permit.
amend my motion. Immediate compliance, $500 a day thereafter. And if the food truck is there, absent permission from the city, whether it be explicit permission or permission under an ordinance or city code, that the city be allowed to remove it.
There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion and there's a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Council, it's immediate compliance, and I know you listen. I want business to run great here in Miami. We don't have an issue with that, but it's got to be done permitted, and they cannot serve until the issue is resolved.
if the property's already in compliance, so that's the issue with immediate compliance is not an issue for us.
Well, if the truck comes back, they're going to be able to tow it. So I just want you to let your
Understood.
client know that.
Understood? It's, like I said, the property's already in compliance, so it's not an issue for
The
us.
food truck is not there to date because there's a construction container of some sort at the property, so obviously it can't be there. They only remove the
I don't
food truck
believe
from the
that's-
property when there's other events or entertainment happening on the lot.
I don't
so.
believe that's the case. I just came from there and the lot's completely vacant.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.